Welcome to Porch Play Chats, sponsored by the American Association for Promoting the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately called IPA-USA. IPA-USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association. As part of our efforts to promote play, we're happy to introduce to you our Porch Play Chats. And these are conversations on a wide range of topics from experts that are just as passionate about play as we are. You can find the latest Porch Play Chats and learn more about IPA USA by going to our website, ipausa.org. Up in that top right hand corner, you're going to see our Facebook, a link to our Facebook, our Instagram, and our YouTube channel. We release a Porch Play Chat every Monday. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, you'll always be notified when a new one is posted. And we also, if you become a friend of ours on Facebook, you'll get an email when we post it on Facebook. I'm Deb Lawrence, and I'm the president of IPA USA. And with me on the porch is Lisa Murphy. Hey, Lisa.
Hello, thank you. Nice to see you again.
Lisa is a wonderful play advocate, as all of you know, and we're fortunate enough to have her as a board member. And with us today is Aidan Bybee. Hi, Aidan.
Hello. Thanks for having
Aidan,
me.
Aidan is the facilitator of an outdoor classroom at ILEAD Aqua Dulce, which is a charter school that is primarily play based all the way through. So we are so happy that Aiden is with us and she's going to help us understand how you create and implement an outdoor classroom in your own program. So, Aiden, take it away.
Just like Deb said, I work at ILEAD Aqua Dulce, and we are a project-based school, which means we call our students learners. So if you hear me saying learners, that's our students. Our learners gain knowledge from working on a problem or a question for an extended period of time. And play-based learning works so beautifully with project-based learning because they kind of coincide, they mix really well together. So we focus on play from TK through 8th grade as a way to extend their project-based learning. Our first year we opened, so we're on our third year open now. Our first year we opened, we started an outdoor classroom, which if you come to our campus today, it's this huge space with all these beautiful centers. And but it wasn't always like that. We started and we had one little cabinet filled with loose parts, another little area with some art supplies, and then a hole in the ground for our mud kitchen. So we started very small and we just kind of started growing and growing and growing, and now we have this beautiful space that's really designed to take learning outside of our standard learning environment, which is, those four stuffy little walls. So we encourage our kids to come outside, learn through play, and it's really fun and exciting.
And so, Aiden, how much time? And I'm going to start with let's start with preschool first. So let's start with preschool. So how much time are they inside and outside? Or is it fluid? Is it based on children's interests? I know it's a big space, so I don't know how many children can actually fit out there at any given time. But I'm curious for each of those age groups, what what is like the allotted amount of time? And then can you give us some materials? I know you started with the mud kitchen and I love how you started in Bed Boz calls it start in a corner and then work your way out, right? So I'd love to know exactly I've seen it on a video, and maybe we could share that video with the viewers on the Porch Play Chat so that they have an idea. But I'd love to know how much time children spend indoors and outdoors, as well as how much time or what kinds of materials they have out there.
Yeah, so our TK and Kinder, it's a multi-age class, and they are outside. They're in school with us from, it's a half day program, so they leave at 12:30. They're inside and outside. They come back and forth. So they'll go inside and work with their facilitator inside. Those are our teachers. Our facilitators inside, while I have a group of their kids outside. doing primarily child-led play because, they really need that at that age. And so kinder will come in and out, TK through kinder will come in and out all day long until they leave at 12:30. After that point, I'm a specialty teacher for our first through third grade classrooms. So they'll come and join me in the afternoon and come outside for a full hour of just child-led play. Now, what's really nice about our facilitators is we've all kind of bought into play-based learning. So even though they only get an hour with me in our outdoor classroom, there's outdoor classroom implementation inside the classroom. There's play inside the classroom. So they're really getting play all day long, which is phenomenal. Some of our centers, so when our kids come outside, they can choose from any center. And I'm only saying center because that's kind of how they're set up, but learners can take things anywhere in the yard. There's no like, you have to stay here and you can only play right here. So they choose from, we have an art station, which has, it looks like a Michael's store crammed into a little cabinet. Where it has clay and Play-Doh, paint, just, all the types of things that you would want to get messy with. We have sensory tables where we switch out either every 2 days where we'll have like Orbeez in them or shaving cream, just different sensory things that learners can play with. We have a science center, which it's really cool. We have lots of different things that learners can experiment with. A nature center, which is filled, we try to put different things where learners can observe different things. So for example, one week we might put out a shedded snake skin, and we have magnifying glasses and clipboards, and learners can really get into their observations or do different experiments at that center. We have a water table filled with beakers and funnels and little pipes, and they can put rocks in their center and create water. They love to build the water dams with the little plastic animals. And our mud kitchen is crazy. We have so many pots and pans and spoons, and we started from that little hole, but now it seems like our whole dirt section is just our mud kitchen, which is my favorite spot. So we have a tinkering station. Our learners, parents signed a consent form for learners to actually use hammers and screwdrivers and just lots of things to get into.
And so the difference, I can see the pre-Kers and the kindergartners and the first and second graders going absolutely crazy out there. So, and loving it. I don't mean crazy in a chaotic way. I mean crazy in a, oh my God, look at all this wonderful stuff that I can explore and experiment with. Talk to me about how the middle schoolers play.
Yeah, so when we first introduced outdoor classroom to our younger kids, just like you said, they went crazy, but like crazy, like, oh my gosh, there's so much for me to do. Versus when we allowed middle schoolers or even our older, like fourth graders, fifth graders into the outdoor classroom, it was chaos because they didn't get that. They didn't get the opportunity to play like this or be curious. And so you would see different behavior, not just because they're older, but because they were almost deprived of this play,
They were filling what was empty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I haven't ever done this, so of course I'm going to go crazy with it.
Oh, for sure. And it was really interesting to watch, especially the first year, just because it was like, wait, I can play with these large sticks and I can play swords with another friend, and wait, what? Or I can take paint and put it on my arms. They went crazy. And our learners are really good about setting expectations for themselves. So that first week where it was just chaotic, it was going back to the drawing board and setting expectations and saying, how do you think we could, I want to say regulate, but, I don't want to suppress them in any ways, but maybe paint in our eyeballs is not a good thing, or in our nose, or maybe we shouldn't be hitting each other with a stick to the point where it hurts. So they're really good at making expectations for themselves. And with our older kids, they still want that child-led play, which is, I think, very interesting. I can bring them out in the outdoor classroom and you'll kind of think, oh, they're not going to really want to play with anything because it's kind of geared towards no, they go ham. They really enjoy playing with everything that's out there because it's, it's authentic. It's still authentic materials. In the mud kitchen, it's not, we have authentic spoons and pans. And so it's not geared towards babies. It's geared towards humans. And I think anyone in any age group can kind of get some relation out of that.
So there's just in that
I'm
little
taking notes
snippet.
like crazy.
I know,
Look
my
at how many
God.
notes I've taken.
I know. Just in that little snippet, Aidan, what you helped others hear is that when children have not had an opportunity to experience that kind of open-ended, child-initiated play, they are actively engaged and really excited because they've never had that experience before. And the beauty of what you said is you didn't shut it down. You didn't say, okay, they're too old for this. They're not being respectful of materials. You didn't do any of that. You just said, okay, so let's talk about how we could not paint our eyeballs. And
it also shows that the need is still there,
yes,
even though they're older. So I'm gonna share an anecdote. So when I owned my childcare center in Rochester, I used to say I could walk into the 3, 4, 5 because we blended ages. I could walk into the 3, 4, 5-year-old room, the pre-K room, and know who was new, even though I knew who was new. But I knew who was new, even if I didn't know, because all the children who had been with us since 6 weeks of age, who had had all of these opportunities to have a beginning and a middle and an end to their own play, their self-directed play, do it until you're done play. They knew they could do it. It was there. But the new kids were up to their eyeballs in paint, up to their eyeballs in the oobleck, up to the eyeballs in building towers and knocking them over because we're not psychologists, but they were filling the void. They had not yet had the opportunity. And so I would tell the teachers, you're not going to believe that until you see it. I would tell the parents, you don't really believe that the house of academics is supported by that foundation of play until you start to see this repeat itself over and over. The kids who had been with us since 6 weeks were over there publishing books. Miss Lisa, how do I spell plum? I'm writing a book about a plum. They knew they could go paint themselves if they needed to, but they didn't have that need. And so that chaotic piece, I think we need to spend some time acknowledging. People think when you're play-based all day, full day, it's chaos, it's anarchy, they're naked. And that's not true. If you need to do that, we'll find a way to facilitate that, but it's not like they're not going to progress to developmentally what is on the next piece of their own path. And I'm just loving, it's what you just described is what we say. And I'm loving that we're bringing to the table people who are working with the older children who can give us some affirmation of what we say all the time. And now somebody is going, and here's some data, and here's a video, and here's the proof, and here's the story. So thank you for that.
Yeah, and I think you also mentioned kids. I think kids need to feel secure in the materials they have. So another thing about being chaotic is sometimes they think those things aren't going to be there tomorrow. And so for us, for our outdoor classroom, everything is out every single day, because that's almost like a security thing, because hey, if I want to paint on that easel tomorrow, it's going to be there. I don't have to do it right now because I can do it tomorrow. And I think that's an important thing for kids to realize too, or to have, because if I had one passion and someone said tomorrow it's not going to be there, I would be chaotic with it, and so I think that's important to recognize too.
Well, I think so many times teachers will bring in something new Or, I would have teachers that came to me and said, I'm getting rid of the easel. And I'm like, what? What happened? They just went crazy. And I'm like, you need to
Because
give
you
them the
never bring
easel.
the easel out. That's
You need to
why.
have the easel
Exactly
out all
what
day
Aidan
long.
just said.
Yes.
Yes.
You
There
need to
we
have
go
the
crazy, so
easel
I gotta
out
put it away. Oh my God.
every day. Every day. You need the easel out. And they would go, I can't like put it in the closet. No, you need to have the easel out every day. Let me get you another easel. I'm sure I'm sure I can find another one. So 4 children could paint at one time, not just 2, right? Because they're telling you they need to paint.
Yeah.
And so it is changing that mindset. You bring in a piece of gross motor equipment because maybe there's 6 feet of snow on the playground, not in San Diego or
Not, I
Los
was gonna say
Angeles,
not.
but yeah, but some places. Um, and where's Mike in Minnesota?
Minnesota.
In Minnesota, so their playground is ice right now. And so, you bring in a piece of gross motor equipment and they go crazy, right? And everybody's trying to go down the gross motor and I would watch it, it would just fly out into the hallway and I would go in and bring it right back in. And they would go, "Why are you doing this to us?" I said, "They need it." That's
It's
what they're telling you.
recalibration. That's the word that I like to use, is that we're calibrating to a new normal.
Mhm.
The easel was a special treat, right? It had previously, until this point, it was something I decided you could have if you did what I expected you to do or wanted you to do.
Mhm.
We're going to get rid of that mindset. We're going to make the easel just something that's always here. But to that, and this is the work of teachers, is that you're signing up almost for like a detoxing, right? We're going to have to wean the children off of the newness of this, and that's going to take some time. And so what I advise people and audience members and listeners and all that is that you don't do anything new right out the gate. Like, do not listen to us chatting here, watching us, viewing us, and then be like, oh God, Deb Lawrence said I need to bring the easel out every day. If you drag the easel out tomorrow because you watch this tonight, first, good on you for thinking that you should.
Mhm.
And at the same time, pause, because you're doing something now, potentially reacting instead of reflecting.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that whatever the new thing that you're doing is the only new thing that you're doing for a little bit of time, again, until we recalibrate. And then in 10 days, because that's what I talk about in my book, the 10-day rule, then the easel is just something that's here. The large motor equipment is just something that's here. The mud kitchen is just something that's here. And we all breathe. We sit in this new semblance of normal, and then we move on to something else. There
Mhm.
is definitely a process there. I think sometimes, and forgive me, I'm kind of hijacking this here for a minute, Aidan. There's intention behind what we do.
Mhm.
Being play-based, progressive, child-centered does not mean chaos and anarchy and a free for all and do what you want and the teachers clean it up. And I don't often think we spend enough time acknowledging that this is done mindfully.
Mhm. And that you start in a corner, right? That it's not, you don't bring in 7 new things. So that was a really good point that, um, but it, it becomes this reframing of being a teacher. And I think that is a hard thing for people to do. So Aiden, how when you're out in the outdoor playground and you're a facilitator, is that what you call the teachers? What did you
Yeah.
call them?
And I
Facilitators.
love that.
I love
I
that.
love that. We've been talking about that the last 3 days, is I
Yes.
think we need to break up with, I mean, I get why we say it. It kind of allows not people not in the industry to understand what we do. I get that. And if you really think about what we do, especially as early childhood people, we are facilitators.
Always.
Yeah.
We facilitate it. We don't teach it, right? And so when you're out there in the outdoor playground and that's your classroom, can you just give some of the viewers some ideas about what it looks like from a facilitator perspective?
Yeah, so funny enough, I had a learner who thought he was in TK. He thought I was in a teacher, a facilitator. He thought I was just someone on the yard to play with. And I think that's like, if you're going to do that, you need, like, if you're going to do an outdoor classroom, you need to take a step back, like take a big step back, because that was the biggest compliment for me, because that made me think he doesn't know. He doesn't know what he's doing or what he's learning or what he's engaging in. And that, like, that's sneaky on me. That's good. But I set up before the kids come out. So I'll set up centers or provocations or something to invoke some curiosity, or, you know, make sure that the space is clean, ready for the learners, or maybe it is messy. Maybe the learners will come to a messy station. Whatever the case may be, I'll set up little centers at each station, but everything's still left out. So even though I'm trying to say, because we are obviously we are a TK through 8th program, we still need to teach standards. So even though I might say, we really should talk about this week, everything's still available. So if a learner's just like, I don't want to do that, then they don't have to. They can do something else there. But I set up before the learners come out. The learners will come out, and all I do is I walk around and document. I take notes of what they're saying. I take pictures. I take videos. I'll maybe chime in every once in a while, but it's more like questions, like, what is your plan here? You want to keep everything open-ended. And if a learner is holding a stick and says, this is a sword, this is a wand, don't say, no, that's a stick. That just like sucks out the magic of childhood. Or I like to bring out like new materials in the mud kitchen or in the science, and I don't tell them what it's for, because they'll come up with like the craziest things to use it for. A sift, you know, a flour sifter or sugar sifter. I brought one of those out, and they didn't know what it was. And I had learners putting rocks in it and sifting through the big and little rocks, and they were like getting them separated, and that was cool, you know.
I have a question to that. Have you found as an educator that you, let me reframe this. Talk to me about being the outdoor classroom teacher and having to be knowledgeable of all of those standards. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, do you find though, and here's where I'm trying to get, and correct me if I'm off base here. Do you find that the environment still meets all of the expectations? You don't necessarily have to go in and change the environment because the 4th graders are out. Speak to that. Speak to the consistency of how play meets all of their needs, regardless of how old they are, for a quick minute, if you will.
So this might seem like I'm cheating, but everything kind of fits into a standard. You know, you can kind of fit anything into a standard, and really, you kind of, I'm gonna give myself away here. I'm really only using the standards to justify play, because it's weird. Not weird. Sorry, that's not the right word. It's not normal for a 4th grader to be outside doing child-led play. That's not normal. It's not the norm. And so really you have to say, well, they're learning this while they're doing this, even though it's perfectly okay that they're just playing. It's okay that they're just doing that. But if you really want to know what they're learning while they're doing that, I can give that to you. So that's why we document, because if a parent comes up, or we have a very supportive community and really supportive parents, but if a parent comes up and goes, why is my kid doing that? I can go, well, A, B, C, D. And
was that a new process for you, Aidan? I'm going to put you on the hot chair here for a second.
Oh, for sure.
Was that like a learning curve for you?
Oh, yeah, it was. I mean, I'm young. I'm pretty new to teaching. I worked at a Montessori school before I worked for ILEAD. Very different based, and it was very challenging becoming familiar with the standards. And at first it was very stressful, because it was like, oh my gosh, I have to hit all these standards. But again, cheating, anything fits into any play, you can fit into a standard, or you can tweak it or say, this is what it does. You know, it's sneaky, but it works. Like I don't think people realize how much goes on while you're learning or while you're playing. How much
I,
learning goes on.
I absolutely agree with you, Aiden. That's the key. That's what we're trying to get across to folks that eh, eh, play, if you just observe, and I want to, Joe's waiting in the waiting room, so we're going to have to move on. But one thing I wanted to ask you is, we had Denisha Jones on yesterday who was talking about Angie Play, and she was saying that the teachers outside are documenting and videotaping children, and then the children all come back inside after 2.5 or 3 hours, and they watch the videos and they talk about what they were doing. And I was just wondering if that is a piece that ILEAD might want to consider to get
Mhm.
them to reflect on why they were doing that, what they were doing, how they were doing it, what they were thinking about, what the plan was, if they, but not to give them those questions, but to have them have a conversation about what it was they were doing. Because, they all love to watch themselves, right? So,
Oh, sure.
and so we learned that yesterday about Angie Play, which is in a province in China. And so I was wondering if that might be something that you might think about.
I don't know if you saw my eyebrows when you mentioned that, but I was like, ooh, that would be cool
I
too.
saw you do this, which I'm guessing is kind of your thinking phase.
And that's my facilitator role. Here, you're doing so many wonderful things. How about adding one more
Yeah.
thing? Yeah,
No,
one
that's
more, which is not fair to you because you're already doing amazing things. But so I'm going to wrap us up, but don't go anywhere because we have other things to do. So yeah, so hang in. So, uh, for to learn more about IPA USA or to access our play chats, make sure to visit IPAUSA.org, and we hope you'll become a member and help us with this work. And so, thanks so much to Aiden, and thanks for listening. And keep on playing.